how did how did Krys handle the Jalen signing? And obviously he goes from a guy who's been starting to not playing a whole lot that first couple of games that Smith was here.
Krys is a self-motivated guy. I think he just took it all in stride and controlled what he can control, and really just kept on working.
Can you coach it any better than that hit he had on the goal line?
No, that was pretty. That was really good. I mean, that had nothing to do with coaching. That was will, 1-2, and toughness.
Kirk, where do you see him making the biggest jump in year two, Krys, just with where he was at last year to make the team to being able to contribute the way he has so far this season?
Krys is a mature guy in general, and I think I said that a bunch last year too. And the biggest thing is that he has the expectation underneath his belt. And this year has been a different year for him, because you have to remember last year he didn't really play in front of fans. He didn't have the full experience. So he's still going through some new experiences, and he takes all that stuff in stride just because of the person he is. He's a pretty even guy all the time. I mean, he's pretty level-headed. So I think that the things that he does is he stays within himself all the time, and he stays very focused on what he needs to do.
Krys was telling us today maybe he was overthinking things a little bit earlier this season, and then Sunday he kind of just decided to let go. Did you notice a difference in him in that regard Sunday? Was it something you had to talk to him about? I'm not sure.
I mean, it's been a progression. I'm not sure that he was overthinking. He and I had talked about just getting better and kind of the progression of improvement. And there were a lot of different things that we did, but I think he definitely felt comfortable, and he feels more comfortable. I think every practice he feels a little bit more comfortable doing something in the defense, and as he should. And when you work at it, and he eats, sleeps, and drinks football, so like he's going to progress.
Kirk, some of the things that Devondre Campbell does, for instance, like line up out in the slot, maybe line up on the edge, things like that, are those part of the scheme, natural part of the scheme? Are those things you guys have kind of written in for him because of his versatility?
Yes. Yes, it's part of the scheme, and then obviously you feel more comfortable doing those things because of his versatility. I think that's the best way to do it. I think every scheme has multiple ways that you can get to different things, and then you kind of put your players in positions that they can handle. So yes, it's part of the scheme, and yes, we feel more comfortable. We feel comfortable doing that stuff with Devondre because of some of his skill sets.
Hey, Kale, how similar, because everything evolves, but how similar is this version of Joe's defense to what you guys ran together when you were in Washington? And I'll explain what I'm asking in a second.
There are the similarities are really technique driven more so than scheme driven, I would say. Just some of the core beliefs that Joe has and those kinds of things are similar, and but the scheme part of things, there's some carryover, but there's some new things. We've all evolved in the 5-6 years that we were away from each other. So, that part of it is a little bit different, but the core values, I would say Joe is Joe.
So, this scheme is now, there's a lot of teams running their own versions of it, right? And it's great because it forces offenses to go 11, 12 plays and not make mistakes and not get chunk plays. Are you seeing, both with your guys at your position, but also just kind of a global view, a real coming together of the scheme and the way your guys know how to run it? Whereas you were coaching in the previous scheme here, you coached a bunch of others. Like, is there like some sort of tipping point here where things are really coming together, both scheme-wise and guys understanding it and running it right?
I would say to answer your question, yes, in that the players are really taking ownership of things, and that's what you always want as a coach. And each year is different, and phases of each year are very different sometimes. But when it's a player-led process, I think that's always a positive. And guys are trying to do everything correctly, and then it always helps when you have a little bit of success doing things correctly, if that answers your question.